Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down the big stories. And today, we're diving into a public health situation that is escalating and fast, a major chikungunya outbreak in China.
All right, let's just start with one number, because it really tells the story here. Over 7,000. That single figure? That's why public health officials all over the world are suddenly paying very close attention to a virus that, you might not have even heard of before today.
So yeah, that number, 7,000, represents the single biggest chikungunya outbreak China has ever documented. I mean, until now, we were just talking about isolated cases, right? People bringing it in from other places. But the key word now is local transmission. That's a total game changer. It means the virus isn't just a visitor anymore. It's found a home, and it's spreading all on its own within the community.
So the big question is, right? How did this blow up so dramatically, so fast? Well, it turns out this is really a story about a virus finding the absolute perfect opportunity to just take off.
And the speed, it's just stunning. I mean, look at this. In June 2025, you have the first local case showing up in Guangdong Province. And then just 2 months later, 2 months, by August, it's a full-blown regional crisis. We're talking over 7,000 cases, and it's already jumped to Hong Kong, Macau, and even creeping into Henan Province.
Okay, so let's back up for a second. What is chikungunya exactly? Well, it's a virus, and you get it from the bite of an infected Aedes mosquito. Yep, that's the same type of mosquito that carries Zika and dengue. Its signature, its hallmark, is a sudden high fever and really, really severe joint pain. But here's the most critical part for trying to control an outbreak like this. You can't get it from another person. It's not spread person to person.
Okay, so if it doesn't spread between people, you might be thinking, why is this such a big deal? Well, it's because this specific outbreak is basically a case study. It's a textbook example of how a huge regional health crisis can just erupt out of what scientists are calling a perfect storm of conditions. And this perfect storm had 3 key ingredients. First, you've got a huge population of people with basically zero prior immunity to this virus. They've never seen it before. Second, the area is just teeming with the Aedes mosquito. And third, heavy monsoon rains plus warm temperatures. That created the absolute ideal breeding ground for those mosquitoes to just explode in number. Now, let's be really clear about something. Experts are not expecting a global pandemic from this, okay? But, and this is a big but, that doesn't mean the threat isn't serious. What this situation shows us is the scary potential for these massive regional outbreaks. Anytime the virus finds another one of these sweet spots, with the right mosquitoes and a vulnerable population.
And this outbreak in China, it isn't happening in a vacuum. Let's zoom out. This global snapshot from just this past July shows the virus's growing footprint. We're talking almost 250,000 cases, 90 deaths, across 16 different countries. So yeah, this is a widespread international problem. Okay, so we've looked at the big picture. Let's bring it down to the personal level now. What does getting chikungunya actually feel like? And maybe more importantly, who is most at risk here?
Honestly, the course of this illness sounds pretty miserable. It kicks off about 3 to 7 days after you get bitten. Then, bam, a sudden high fever hits you, along with just debilitating joint pain. And while most people start to feel better within a week, it's that lingering pain, the joint pain, that can stick around for months. That's what gives this virus its nasty reputation.
And look, while chikungunya is rarely fatal, thank goodness, the CDC is very clear that the risk for a severe, complicated illness is much, much higher for certain groups. We're talking about newborns who get infected around the time they're born, adults over 65, and really anyone with underlying conditions like high blood pressure, heart disease, or diabetes.
So, given all these risks, the logical question is, what are we doing about it? What's being done to stop the spread? And what kind of new tools do we have in the fight?
Well, the public health response is really fighting on 2 fronts. Over in China, officials are getting super aggressive with mosquito control. I mean, they're using drones to spray insecticide and even fining people for leaving stagnant water around. At the same time, here in the US, the CDC is putting out advice for travelers. Use insect repellent, wear long sleeves, you know the drill. And they're even recommending that pregnant people seriously reconsider any travel plans to the area.
But here's the real game changer, the big news in all of this.
We now have vaccines. Not one, but two of them. Ixchikov came first, but it's a live attenuated vaccine, so it's not recommended for people over 60. But the newer one, Chikungunya, uses a different kind of technology, and it's approved for anyone 12 and up. Just having these options, that is a massive leap forward for protecting people, especially travelers.
All right, let's zoom back out for the big takeaway. What are the larger lessons here? What does this one outbreak in China really tell us about what might be coming down the pike?
When you boil it all down, this is the key point. This outbreak is a blueprint. It's a flashing red light, a warning of exactly what can happen anywhere in the world when a mosquito-borne virus like this finds a large, unexposed population and the perfect conditions to just run wild.
And that means the strategy to prevent this from happening again has three really clear pillars. First, aggressive mosquito control on the ground. Second, smart, strategic vaccination for people traveling to at-risk areas. And third, constant genomic surveillance. Basically, keeping an eye on the virus itself to see if it's changing or mutating. You can't skip any of them. All three are absolutely essential.
And all of this leaves us with one final, pretty sobering question to think about. As our world gets warmer, as weather patterns shift, and the habitats for these Aedes mosquitoes keep expanding, are these kinds of explosive regional outbreaks just the new normal? It's a huge question, sitting right at the intersection of climate change, global travel, and our collective health.